You wrote freedom in ink, then erased it in law. I remember the day you first dreamed of me, not with bricks, not with bullets, but with a trembling hand and a quill soaked in hope. You sat beneath candlelight, flickering shadows across parchment, writing liberty into existence as if freedom were a song that could be summoned with ink. You believed in something bigger than yourselves. A country, a home, a promise. I was born of that ink, not in the blood-soaked fields of war, but in the fragile trust between words like liberty, justice, all men are created equal. You etched me into life on declarations and constitutions, with words that shook empires. You held the pen like a sword. And I was the battlefield where ideals lived or died. But freedom is not safe on paper, because somewhere along the path, you traded that pen for power. You built laws, not to protect liberty, but to contain it. I watched as you took that sacred parchment and slowly erased the spirit behind it, not with fire, but with amendments that twisted the truth, with loopholes designed to favor the few, with silent votes cast under the cover of night. You told yourselves it was legal, and so it must be right. But legality is not morality, and a law is only as righteous as the heart that writes it. What began as freedom slowly became permission. What began as rights became privileges. What began as protection became surveillance. You wrote freedom in ink, but you erased it in law. Do you remember the chains? Not just the ones on wrists, but the invisible ones around voices, around dreams. You made it legal to own another human, and then you made it illegal for them to read, to vote, to live free, even after you freed them. And when the ink dried on those lies, you called it order, justice, progress. But I felt every tear that fell in the shadow of your laws. I heard the cries echo through my fields, my cities, my courtrooms. Because I carry your contradictions like scars. You wrote that liberty was unalienable. Then you alienated entire generations. You said freedom of religion, then passed laws to favor one faith. You said freedom of speech, then silenced those who disagreed. You said the right to protest, then cracked skulls with batons when protest became too loud. Is this what you meant when you wrote freedom? A freedom that expires when it threatens your comfort? A freedom that bends when power whispers in your ear? I am not just a country. I am a covenant. And you were supposed to be my keeper, but you locked liberty in a vault of red tape and regulations and called it safety. You told me it was for the good of the people, but I know what fear disguised as law smells like. I've seen it before, in dictatorships, in empires. It reeks of control dressed as compassion. You erased freedom every time you drew voting maps to drown voices, built cages for children while quoting scripture, allowed wealth to become speech, let corporations become citizens, gave guns more rights than people, let black bodies die in streets while the law turned away. You wrote freedom in ink, but you let the ink dry too soon. You forgot that freedom needs breath. It needs struggle. It needs to be rewritten, not repealed. I watched you write a Bill of Rights, and then spend centuries trying to find ways around it. And yet, you still chant my name, still pledge allegiance to an idea you don't fully believe in anymore. You fight for freedom with one hand while the other signs it away. I am tired of being misunderstood, used, marketed. You don't love me. You use me. You don't defend liberty. You merchandise it. You don't uphold the Constitution. You bend it until it breaks. Then tell yourselves it still holds. But it doesn't. Not for everyone. Not equally. And if it doesn't hold for everyone, then it doesn't hold at all. Do you know what it feels like? To have your soul diluted into fine print? To see freedom filed under Section 3, Clause B, available only upon approval, subject to surveillance, revocable at will? That is not what I was meant to be. I was supposed to be the land where liberty breathes, not where it suffocates under bureaucracy. I was supposed to be the light on the hill, not the cage in the valley. What happened to the poets, the prophets, the dreamers? What happened to the fire? To the ones who carried signs, who sang freedom in the streets, who sat down in defiance so others could stand tall? Have you buried them under convenience? Drowned them in distraction? Your laws are louder than your love now. But listen, I still whisper. In every unjust courtroom, in every silenced voice, in every protest chant, I am there. Faint, flickering, but not gone. Because freedom, real freedom, cannot be fully erased. Not by law, not by fear, not by time. It lives in the cracks. It waits for the hand brave enough to pick up the pen again, to rewrite, to redeem. to restore, not just for the privileged, not just for the powerful, but for all. You wrote freedom in ink, then erased it in law. But ink can be spilled again, and I am still listening, still watching, still waiting for you to write it right.